This week's Devar Torah is on two parshas, Parshat Matot-Masei, brought to you by BaMidbar Israel and Or Chadash. And in many years, we read these two parshas separately. This year, we read them together. So we're going to be discussing from Parshat Matot. So the parsha begins with the laws of making a vow. And it begins, Zeh hadavar asher tziva Hashem. This is the thing that God has commanded. And that language is not used that often. And we're told that there was a difference between the prophecy of Moshe and the prophecy of all the other prophets. All the other prophets prophesied with the words Ko Amar Hashem, which means something like, this is approximately what God has said. Whereas Moshe prophesied and spoke with the words Zeh hadavar, meaning this is the thing, like very precisely. This is the thing. So the question is asked, why are the laws of vows introduced with this language of this is the thing that God has commanded? And we have a second question, a more fundamental question. When we look in the Talmud, we're told that the sages suggested very strongly not to make vows, and bring the obvious reason that whatever we say, we have to fulfill. So why would we want to set ourselves up to perhaps not fulfill what we say? So the question is, if the sages were encouraging us not to make vows, why does the Torah allow us to make vows? Very, very fundamental question. If making a vow is so problematic, at least potentially, then why even give the opening to make vows? So to answer that, we'll have to understand really what the positive nature of making a vow is. And the hint is in the way it's introduced. This is the thing that God has commanded. Because why does a person make a vow? What's the assumption here? The assumption is that a person, for whatever reason, has come to a place in their life that they're having problem dealing with certain things. And all the advice in the world has not helped. All the mitzvot in the world have not helped. And a person is like flailing for an answer. So the Torah allows us to take a vow in order to strengthen us to do something that under ordinary circumstances we were at a loss to be able to do. Because since we have the general principle that what we say we have to fulfill, the assumption is that if we're going to make a vow, then we're going to feel bound to fulfill it. And since we didn't know how to fulfill it in other ways, the Torah allows us to make a vow. And so therefore we understand why it's introduced with Zeh hadavar, meaning that for this person taking the vow, in a sense, it has to be on the level of Moshe Rabbeinu, in a way that it's so clear to him or her that this is the vow I need to make to get my life together. And so a vow is like a personal mitzvah between the person making the vow and God. It's not written in the Torah, and no one else has to do it. But once I make the vow, I now am bound by that, just like a mitzvah in the Torah. And we see two other instances where there's a parallel dynamic happening. One is with Pesach Sheni, and we discussed this many weeks before, that the mitzvah of Pesach Sheni, where we have a second chance to bring the Korban Pesach, the Paschal offering, was given when people who were impure and unable to bring the Korban Pesach the first time, they asked of Moshe, how can it be that we who are doing a mitzvah can now not bring the Korban Pesach? And we learned, this is in Parshat Bahalotcha, if anyone wants to look back at the Devar Torah, we learned that because of the people's great desire to do this mitzvah, as it were, God gave this new mitzvah called Pesach Sheni because of their desire. We see the same thing with the daughters of Tzlofchad. The daughters of Tzlofchad, when it comes to inheritance, their father had no sons. And so they approached Moshe and said, why shouldn't we be able to inherit? And Moshe didn't know the answer. He asked God, and God said, they're right. But we see the same thing here. It was their great desire to have a portion in the land that gave them the strength and the inspiration to ask for something that appeared they would not be able to get. So here also with a neder, we see that sometimes, and probably everyone listening has reached a place in their life like this, where we don't know where to turn. Everything seems blocked. All of our natural resources don't give us the strength. And so that's why the Torah allowed us to take a neder. Now, everyone should know that these laws are very complicated, and based on this Devar Torah, people shouldn't run out and start making all kinds of vows. It's a very complicated thing. But we're trying to explain why the Torah allows vows at all. So this is one of the explanations. Now let's see just a little bit deeper in the word itself for a vow, which is neder. If you separate the letters, we can read it. The first letter is a nun and dar. The nun dwells. Neder. If you switch the two second letters, it's the nun descends. So what does this mean? So if we look at the prayer Ashrei, the Psalm Ashrei, the 145th Psalm, we see it's according to the alphabet, the Hebrew letters, but the letter nun is left out. There's no verse for the letter nun. Why is that? Is because David, who composed Ashrei, he was called a Nethel. A Nethel is literally a miscarriage. Nethel comes from the word to fall. Like a miscarriage is, as it were, a fallen baby. And by tradition, we learn that David had no years apportioned to his soul in this world. And the Midrash says that Adam Arishon took 70 years of his life and gave them to David. That's why Adam, who was supposed to live to be 1,000, died at the age 930. So David had the feeling at every minute like he was falling. So he didn't want to put the nun in Ashrei. But what is the next verse? Somech Hashem l'kol hanoflim. God holds up all those who have fallen. So let's go back to the word neder. The nun dar, the nun dwells, or the nun descends. So here we have a deep understanding of what a neder is. The nun red descends is the feeling that a person has that I don't know how to get a handle on my life. And the nun dar is that the fallen nun can be given stability through taking a neder. So it's a very, very deep understanding that we see in the letters itself. So again, I caution people not to run out and make vows. But we should know that there is this idea that sometimes when we don't see which way to turn, that by making a commitment to do something, a firm commitment to do something, and then drawing the strength to do that can turn someone's life around. Because so many times we fail because we feel we can't succeed. And sometimes we just need to succeed at something in order to prove to ourselves that we can do it. So we should all have the strength and the vision to see what we need to be doing and the firm commitment to then go ahead and do it. Thanks for watching this Devar Torah. If you like what you heard, which I hope you did, please come to our YouTube station, our website, our Facebook, our blog, our Twitter, and take advantage of a plethora of Torah, of audio classes, videos, poetry, stories, music, word and gematria search. You'll find a lot there, and please share this with your friends. www.thetrugmans.com